After an exciting week of tournaments and upsets, welcome back down to Ice Level. As always, I am your host, James Blennau, and today it's time to really get into the season because the new guard is making some serious noise. But before we check out all the games, let's talk news. This week, the U.S. Collegiate Select Spengler Cup team named its first five on Thursday. Penn State's Aiden Fink and Matt Godowski, North Dakota's Jake Levinovich, and UConn's Joey Muldowney, alongside Minnesota State's Alex Tracy, will each head to Switzerland this winter for hockey's oldest senior tournament. Guy Godowski's staff will lead the selects in this winter's tournament as the first collegiate selects team to ever play in the competition. Game of the week, the Blue Bloods meet in Minneapolis. It's number 11 Boston College at number 12 Minnesota. Game 1 on Thursday night. We get started in the first period with 6 to go. Will Vogt finds a loose puck out in the front and sneaks it by. It's 1-0 BC early on. And with a minute left, Brody Lamb with a rifle from the bumper past Luca Cloutier. Minnesota ties it at 1. Now moving on to the second period. Will Moore scores his first NCAA goal from the point. When there's a will, there's a way for BC. Eagles up 2-1. And one more empty netter would seal it for the Eagles. Boston College takes game 1 at Mariucci, 3-1, defensively dominating the Gophers. Upset Uproar was a tough choice this week, but this Clarkson team must have had some chip on its shoulder, going into Pagula Ice Arena for the home opener and surviving with all 3 points in a 6-4 comeback over number 4 Penn State. With the Nittany Lions up 4-3 headed into the third, JF Hoole's Golden Knights scored 4 unanswered to take the game in what started an incredible trend of upsets this weekend. Sophomore goaltender Shane Soderwall finished with 36 saves against one of the nation's best offenses, while Eric Bargholtz and Adrian Misleyevich each picked up 2 goals in the season-defining win. What a way to come back from the loss at Canisius to start the season. Speaking of Canisius, let's head over to Atlantic Hockey America, where we are not going over its games, but what we do have to take a look at, though, is Air Force snatching a tie from number 5 Denver at the Academy. It was an incredible defensive performance by Frank Serator's team to hold a 1-goal lead as long as they did, and to hold on for the shootout point against a blue blood like the Pioneers. Not to mention junior goaltender Carter Clafton made 58 saves in the game. Now let's check out where those points bring the Falcons in this week's AHA standings. Sacred Heart leads overall with a 2-0-0 record, also 2-0-0 in the conference. Niagara with a 3-0-0 overall, followed by Army in the last podium place with a 2-0-1. Canisius follows them at 3-1-0, followed by Air Force with 0-1-1. Bentley at 0-2-0, Holy Cross at 0-3-0, Mercyhurst winless through 4 games, RIT with 2 losses, and Robert Morris with no games played so far. Across to the Big Ten, number 9 Michigan headed east to see number 7 Providence and took 2 wins over the weekend, with goalie Jack Ivankovich only letting up 2 goals across both games against Roger McQueen's Friars. Standout performers included Michael Hayes with 2 goals, Drew Schock with a goal, an assist, and 2 blocked shots, and Nick Moldenhauer with 2 assists. Now let's see how the Big Ten is shaping up in the standings now, with most teams having a few games under their belts. The Wolverines in first place with a perfect 4-0-0 record, followed by Ohio State and Wisconsin, each with 2 wins on the year. Penn State with that 1 loss on the year to Clarkson in fourth, followed by Michigan State at 1-1-0. Minnesota with 2 losses on the year, 1 win and 1 tie, and Notre Dame at 0-2-0. Back to the Midwest in the CCHA, Ferris State just spoiled the biggest banner night since Boston College beat Quinnipiac in 2023, taking down the best team in the land, Western Michigan, at Lawson, 3-2. Gavin Best finished the job for the Bulldogs with 4 minutes left in a game off a confusing play behind Hampton Slakinski's net, and despite the Broncos' 50 total shots, junior North Dakota transfer goalie Hobie Hedquist allowed an unreal 3 goals. Now let's see who can keep up with these dogs running to a quick start in this week's CCHA standings. With no conference games played, we see Augustana in first with a 1-1-0, Bemidji State with 2-2-0, and Bowling Green winless through 2 games. Ferris State, the 1 win and 3 losses on the year. Lake State, a 500 with 2-2-0 alongside Michigan Tech and Minnesota State. Northern Michigan winless, and St. Thomas 1-2-0 throughout the season. Over in ECAC hockey, yes, another shootout, but definitely a breakthrough as Colgate took number 3 Boston University to the extra round on the road in Game 2 of this series. Antonio Fernandez and Ryan Sullivan scored the goals for the Raiders, with Fernandez embracing his inner sponge blocking 4 shots in what probably shouldn't be a draw, but I don't work for the NCAA, so here we are. In other news, let's check out everyone else from the Ivies to Upstate in the ECAC hockey standings. Quinnipiac remains in first place with a 2-1-0 record so far, and Union with 1 in each column, followed by Clarkson with a 1-2-0 record, the 1 win coming at Penn State. Colgate sort of splitting their series at BU with 0-1-1, St. Lawrence with 1 win and 3 losses, all the Ivies, Brown, Cornell, Dartmouth, Harvard, and Princeton, and Yale with no games played on the year yet, and RPI down at the bottom with 2 losses. In the Hockey East, I don't think you'd believe me if I told you this would happen before this weekend, but New Hampshire showed out in East Lansing, beating the number 2 team in the country, Michigan State, 4-3. Marty Lavin scored the buzzer beater with 5 seconds left in the third period to take all 3 points, and what a way to start the season for the Wildcats. Let's check out the rest of the teams across New England in this week's Hockey East standings after some upset losses and ranked wins. Merrimack finds itself at the top of the table with a 1-1-0 record, followed by UMass Lowell with the same record. Boston College with 1 in each column, followed by their rivals Boston University at 2-0-1. Maine and UMass both undefeated at 2 and 3 wins respectively. New Hampshire splitting against Michigan State. Northeastern also splitting its series. Providence losing both games to Michigan, winless so far this year. And UConn and Vermont each splitting their first series as well. In the NCHC, number 10 North Dakota is off to a hot start under new head coach Dane Jackson, taking down number 19 St. Thomas on Friday night at home in a 6-2 rout. The Hawks' 6 different goal scorers included Dylan James, who also picked up an assist, and Josh Zakreski, who also had a goal and a Gino. Let's see if the Hawks can climb as high as years past in this week's NCHC standings. With no conference games played so far, Arizona State at the top of the table at 2-2-0, Colorado College at 3-1-0, Denver having not lost a point in any of their games at 1-1-0, Miami, Ohio surprisingly undefeated, followed by Minnesota Duluth at a strong 3-1-0, North Dakota sweeping the Tommies over the weekend at 2-0-0, Omaha splitting its series at 1-1-0, St. Cloud at 2-1-0, and Western Michigan also had a surprising 1-1-0. To the USCHO poll now, Boston University takes first place with 27 votes, followed by Western Michigan with 6, Michigan State with 5, and Michigan with 8. Denver and Penn State follow them up, Penn State with 1 first place vote, and Maine in 7th with 3. North Dakota, Boston College, and Quinnipiac round us out in the top 10. UMass, UConn, Minnesota, Providence, and Arizona State bring us down to 15, and Ohio State, Wisconsin, Cornell, Colorado College, and Minnesota State will round out the top 20 teams in the land this week. We've got a wild forecheck forecast this week, starting with Mike Hastings taking on his former team for the first time since moving to Madison. His number 17 Wisconsin plays number 20 Minnesota State at Kohl Center on Thursday and Friday. Number 10 Quinnipiac has its home opener this weekend as it takes on number 7 Maine in a 2-game series on Friday and Saturday. Number 3 Michigan State travels east to take on number 1 Boston University at Agganis Arena for a top-tier matchup, especially on offense and in goal Friday and Saturday. Number 16 Ohio State follows its Big Ten rivals to New England for 2 games at number 12 UConn on Friday and Saturday, with 1 game at Toscano Ice Arena and 1 game at Peoples Bank Arena, formerly XL Center. Finally, number 13 Minnesota and number 8 North Dakota renew their rivalry after a season without meeting last year with 2 games in Grand Forks for one of college hockey's oldest and most intense series. Thanks for coming down this week and listening to me ramble about the game we love. Be sure to come back next week, because if the Forecheck Forecast has told you anything, it's that you'll need to be back here to keep up with all the carnage across the country. As always, I'm James Blennau, and we're not experts, but it takes fans to grow the game.